Hey, what up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you today. We're celebrating the YWC holiday, Macho Man Randy Savage Day. Hope everybody is having a fun day. This is a holiday that's brought on by Jimny868 over there. He's having a good day today. He was out this morning. I was checking his Twitter as he was driving around trying to find a way to pick up that Macho Man box set. He didn't want to leave with just the DVD or the Blu-ray. He wants to get the whole epic goodness, and best of luck. I haven't checked my Twitter since then. I'm on my lunch, but I just wanted to make a video. I know the love is out there because every time you go out and you buy a new DVD, you get that rush, you get that fire on the inside. But honestly, I've been saying this for a long time. I think Wrestlemania 31, 2015, right there in the heart of California, Santa Clara, I want to see Macho Man Randy Savage go into the Hall of Fame. I know that basically he is a guy that has been deserving for a real long time. If you go back and you think of all the people that became wrestling fans during the 80s because of a time when Macho Man was a part of the WWF, him and the Mega Powers with Hulk Hogan running wild, the build-up of WrestleMania 4, winning the WWF Championship, beating Ted DiBiase. Basically, when Hulk Hogan jumped into the ring and hit everybody with the steel chair, wiping everybody out, making sure that Savage was going to come out on top, and then running with the whole Mega Powers jealousy angle of basically Hogan stealing Miss Elizabeth away, when you can debate it if Hogan was just looking for a new manager and was just trying to be in the thrill of it all, and if Savage was really thinking that Hogan was really going to steal her away. You can see that when WrestleMania 5 happened, basically Hogan wins the match, and it never really was said that he was going to take Miss Elizabeth, but from there Randy Savage went on and became the Macho King. And as the Macho King, he took on Sensational Sherry, sort of leaving Miss Elizabeth out in the dust. I don't think they ever really did a breakup angle, but every once in a while, Hogan would bring out Miss Elizabeth. That was sort of the her walking away from wrestling at the time. There's people who said that basically the reason why Miss Elizabeth disappeared from television and angles was basically that the Savages were trying to have a child. From there, Macho Man would go on to have great matches, and you can think of him and Warrior in the retirement match, him and Crush at WrestleMania 10. Macho Man, is a guy that always really delivered and had great matches. One of my favorite Macho Man angles was once he became a commentator for WWF Monday Night Raw. There's two matches that stick out in my mind that were just basically TV feuds that were blown off in the matter of 2 weeks. One was a feud against the Repo Man, where basically the Repo Man came out and he repossessed the Macho Man's hat, and he had to have a match to win his hat back. And another one was against Doink, the Clown, where basically Macho Man won by going underneath the ring, and then on the opposite edge of the ring, the Macho Midget would appear. That would take out Doink and Dink, and Macho Man would prevail in the match and get the 1, 2, 3. Just big things like this. But I think you got to tip your hat to it. I think a lot of fans back in the glory days of wrestling were big fans because of Hulk Hogan. But I think there's an equal amount of people that would watch Saturday night's main events and were caught up by the bright colors of the Macho Man Randy Savage and his wrestling style, whether if it was brawling, whether if it was sort of attacking, whether it was the high risk, high flyer sort of deal. He had the big Macho Man elbow, which is sort of just poetic every time you sort of see it. A match that you saw stolen by CM Punk, and taken on from there. But I don't think that there's been a lot of guys come off the top rope with the flying elbow, but I don't think you really think of anybody like the Macho Man Randy Savage. When I went into Best Buy today to pick up my DVD, basically when I went up to the in-store pickup line, and I said that I was there to pick up the Macho Man DVD, I was met by an ooh yeah, and her sort of throwing her fist. And then when I came into work and I was telling people that I couldn't wait to get off because I wanted to go home and watch the new Macho Man Randy Savage documentary, I was met by these fringe way back in the day wrestling fans, or people that I don't even know if they really know anything about it, saying snap into a Slim Jim. You think about the story that came out. I just watched the Eric Bischoff shoot interview from our video with people talking about wrestling stories that just really make you scratch your head. You think about Vince doing the youth movement in WWF, which moved Macho Man to the commentators table and was trying to move him away from wrestling and matches. Macho Man still thought he had something left in the tank, so he reached out to Eric Bischoff and he signed with WCW to start wrestling for them. Became their world champion. I think he was like a 3-time WCW champion. And he had great feuds, he had great matches. A few of the times, I think twice I can think of, Macho Man would main event a pay-per-view by winning the championship, show up on Monday Night Nitro, and having a one-day title reign and dropping the belt over to Hulk Hogan. And I don't know if that was just backstage politics or what that was, but I think when it comes down to it, Macho Man could have been a bit well-played hand. Vince was trying to force him out back in like 93, 94, and Macho Man would go on to wrestle all the way until, I believe, 2000. The last appearance I can remember him making on a big scale in wrestling was him winning the New Blood versus the Millionaires Club Battle Royal on an episode of Thunder, when basically he was out of WCW. His contract had expired, but as sort of a WCW way, they brought him in for a one-night appearance. I think they were thinking maybe they'd be able to work out a deal, but he ended up winning the Battle Royal, only for us never to see him ever again. But it was a big splash to see him one more time. I think at the time we hadn't seen Macho Man in a long time, but what nobody knows about WCW, and a story that Eric Bischoff told, was basically that Slim Jim paid for Randy Savage's contract. It wasn't that just straight up that they paid him. It was just that they set out that they were going to pay Randy Savage a set amount of money, and it just also happened to be how much Slim Jim paid in sponsorship to sponsor WCW and have their name on the rings and have their commercials shown on Nitro and on the pay-per-views. It just happened to be the same deal. It's just one of those funny wrestling stories how that's one of the reasons why a lot of people think that there's bad blood between Vince McMahon and Randy Savage up until the day of his death. Was that Vince was hurting at the time, trying to keep his company alive, and at that time it was when the Slim Jim sponsorship got pulled because he left. I don't know. I think that when I looked at what they were doing for the Hall of Fame last year, I thought that maybe they brought Ultimate Warrior in as the main events at the Hall of Fame. I thought maybe you put him in the Hall of Fame one year and you bring him back the next year to be the guy who inducts Randy Savage this year. Of course, after Wrestlemania weekend on that Tuesday when everybody was flying home, we all got the bad news about the Ultimate Warrior. From there, I think that the Ultimate Warrior would have been a great speech, but I don't think anybody really thinks of anybody as Randy Savage's biggest foe other than Hulk Hogan, who happens to be in the good graces of WWE right now. And I think that everybody can see that whether if it's all story or speculation, I think that any bad blood that was between Savage and Hogan has been washed under the bridge. And I think that if Hulk Hogan gave sort of a WrestleMania retirement speech for him to go into the Hall of Fame, I think everybody would believe it. And I think it would be great, because everybody knows that Savage and Hogan were great friends. Everybody knows that Savage sort of blames Hogan for the breakup of him and Liz, how they weren't married anymore. But I don't know what goes into that. There's two sides to every story. Hulk tells it one way. If you go back and you find old interviews from Randy Savage, he tells it another way. As far as I know, Savage doesn't have a real produced shoot interview. You just find radio interviews or fan cam sort of question and answer deals with him to find things out. He didn't, when he left wrestling, he really did leave wrestling, and he was out of the spotlight. I can remember him showing up at, I believe, a Tampa Bay Devil Rays minor league game down there in Florida, and that was like big news that Savage was on television, and he had a huge white beard looking like Santa Claus, and he was one of those guys who really pulled out of wrestling and got away. Of course, everybody knows he found his real true love in life, I guess you can say, with his high school sweetheart. They found each other, they got married, and they just were living quietly in Florida. But I think Randy Savage would be a great addition to the WWE Hall of Fame. As big of a joke as some people think it is, I think it would be a great moment, whether if he is the headliner or if he's just sort of a guy that gets filled in the middle, because it's hard to leave the Hall of Fame with a good feeling when you put somebody in who's passed on. It seems like every year you have one sort of person in there, and then you have another main eventer along the way. I know you can think of deserving people for the Hall of Fame this year would be Undertaker, if you wanted to put him in already, Macho Man Randy Savage, Sting, The Rock. There are a few guys that could headline this deal, but Savage is probably one of the most deserving guys, seeing how much he did for the WWF and got them to, how popular they were during the Saturday Night's main event boom of the 80s. So we'll have to see what happens, but my vote this year is for Randy Savage. Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. Honestly, I was sitting down, I was getting ready to make a video hyping up tonight's Monday Night Raw, talking about the Shield and the Authority. WWE just tweeted out the fact that they're going to be inducting Randy Savage into the Hall of Fame. More than likely, the announcement will be coming tonight on Monday Night Raw. Of course, this means that more than likely this week we'll be getting a Hall of Fame pre-sale. The Hall of Fame, of course, is going to be taking place before Wrestlemania 31. It's going to be March 28th. It's going to be in the SAP Center. It's going to be held at 1 o'clock in the afternoon this year. It's going to be a little bit weird. More than likely that'll be taped and then it'll be put onto the WWE Network later that night. But for the people that are heading to WrestleMania 31, this is going to be a hot ticket to get. Of course, with the Macho Man Blu-ray set that came out, there was a guy on here, Sean Blackford, that used to make videos in the day. He used to be a part of WWE DVD News. He used to always talk about, when they make these legend sets, they don't make them for no reason, and they release them at certain times of the year. So make sure that you're taking a part of this. And last year, the Goldberg set came out before. I believe it came out like in November. I could be a little bit wrong on that, but that was sort of on the track to WrestleMania. It looked like Goldberg was going to be that guy. Instead, he ended up doing WrestleCon, and they ended up not being able to work out a deal in order to put him in. But I'm so glad as hell that Randy Savage is going into the Hall of Fame, and they're going to be playing another video for him. If you can remember back to when we lost the Macho Man, it's been a few years now, but he passed away midweek, and then we had to wait until Monday Night Raw, and they put together a video package of his career, and it was to his music, man. It was one of the most beautiful things I ever saw. The Macho Man was an awesome performer. He just was so good. He was so charismatic that, when you saw him, it was more about the wrestling, and it was more about looking at him. I know a lot of people. When I grew up, I loved Randy Savage, but I've made no point of saying that, Hulk Hogan was my favorite wrestler. But I know plenty of wrestlers. I know plenty of wrestling fans that because of Saturday night's main event and other things like this, people watched Randy Savage. Randy Savage was one of the guys that wasn't like Hogan. He was a main eventer, but he wasn't protected like Hulk Hogan. Yeah, he wrestled on all the shows, whether if it was Wrestling Challenge, Wrestling Superstars, TNT, Primetime, anything that came out along the way. Savage wrestled on those shows if it was a match that mattered, or if he just wrestled a job match. Hogan was the guy you had to pay money to see. Paid money to see him at a house show. You had to pay money to see him on pay-per-view, and that was basically the only way you were going to see him. Macho Man wrestled all the time. Of course, before leaving WWF and heading over to WCW, his career lasted till about 2000, before heading out during the New Blood and Millionaires Club. And then he just disappeared, and we never really got a chance to see him. He's always going to be one of those guys that I never got a chance to meet, and it's sad. But the Macho Man set's out. I'm sure everybody's seen this by now. If you haven't, go get this. I was really surprised by the Paul Heyman documentary being uploaded on the WWE Network already. It seems like that just came out on Blu-ray. So if you don't have it, maybe wait a month. Maybe it'll be on the WWE Network for you. But I'm pumped. Tonight's going to be the big announcement. Macho Man, Randy Savage, going into the Hall of Fame. Be looking for those pre-sale tickets, and it'll probably be this week. Peace out, everybody. And another feel-good moment here on the December 12th edition. January 12th 12th edition of Monday Night Raw here in 2015. The news broke earlier this morning. Basically, WWE sent word to TMZ. TMZ put it out, and then WWE acted like, whoa, why are you breaking our news here? And then they went as far as to tweet that it's not official, but WWE believes that WWE is going to be inducting Randy Savage into 2015. The way they were backpedaling on Twitter today was pretty damn funny. They just should have came out and said, hey, we're going to play a video, and Randy Savage is going to be the first inductee into the Hall of Fame. I don't believe that Savage is going to be the main eventer. I think they are going, all out for this. WWE Network. I never saw a tweet. I just saw a tweet that it was going on. Breaking into coverage with the breaking news. This is something that I thought was really, really cool. If you remember back to the Roman Reigns injury, they had the video, although they told us it was going to play at 11, and it didn't play until almost 1. So you had to be sitting around waiting for it for over 2 hours, just sitting there watching the CM Punk documentary, and then sitting there and watching whatever they played after that, just feeling like an idiot. Like if you're gonna break news already. But they had a whole big deal with Hulk Hogan, with Lanny Poffo, Mean Gene Okerlund, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, all giving their thanks to the Macho Man and saying that it was about time, it was long overdue. And as they do, they make the awesome video packages, and they made a video package for Randy Savage for the rest in peace when he died. I believe that was back in 2012. You can easily say that Savage should have gone into the Hall of Fame there. It seemed like that he was coming into good graces with the WWE. There is the ongoing rumor that basically Savage's dying wish was that not to put him into the WWE Hall of Fame unless all of the Poffos went in at one time. His father and his brother, Lanny Poffo. There's lots out there about him being a great wrestler. He of course was the genius inside of the WWE. Randy's father was a legend. He's in the WCW Hall of Fame. It's debatable if he should be in that Hall of Fame. Randy wanted his father to go in. Because of this, the main announcer for WCW, he quit. Basically because he felt that the WCW was sort of, laying down for its performers, putting people in there that shouldn't go in there. A lot of people think that the WWE Hall of Fame is a bit of a joke. I mean, there is no, freestanding building that you can go see these people's things. There's been rumors of it happening for, a couple of years, and it picked up speed a couple months ago with basically one of the big belt collectors saying that WWE had made a trade for a very famous belt. I can't remember which one it was, but saying that they needed that to build a Hall of Fame. So maybe this is coming. People have thought that it might go down in Orlando. Maybe they could start doing tours of the Hall of Fame, the Performance Center, drive down the road, hit Hogan's Beach Shop and Hogan's Beach Restaurant in Tampa. But honestly, Macho Man going into the Hall of Fame honestly is very long overdue. He's one of the best performers of all time. He's one of the best guys at delivering promos. He was very colorful. He really reached out and grabbed you through the television screen, and he made you, pay attention to what he was doing. He made you pay attention to his matches. He played himself up like he was insane. You never knew what this guy was going to do next, and he's one of the best. And, there's always going to be those rumors in the back of, why Savage was never brought back to WWE, why there's no Triple H, why there's no Stephanie, why there's no Vince McMahon on the Randy Savage story, the Macho Man DVD. But hopefully now this can be put down to rest. They're going to give it a big deal at WrestleMania 31. I don't think he's going to be the main eventer. I think that there's still going to be a name to send us all home happy with a great speech. You don't want to be having to hear Lanny Poffo talking about a guy who's no longer with us anymore, and us crying on the way out the door. Walking home from WrestleMania 30 in that death march Like it felt like we were walking home from the funeral. And even though Bryan won at the end, it was the big moment when Undertaker lost, killing off the streak. I think a lot of us walked out of that building knowing that we were never going to see Undertaker again, and that Brock Lesnar had basically killed the man right there in the middle of the ring. But Savage going in is going to be a great, awesome moment. I think everybody knows that Hall of Fame tickets for the general sale is going to go on sale Saturday. I'm hoping for maybe a Wednesday, hoping for maybe a Thursday Hall of Fame pre-sale. So we'll check out and we'll see, what we're doing for that. So WrestleMania 31, hope you guys got your tickets, hope you're coming, and oh yeah, Macho Man. Hey, what up everybody, this is Stevie Breach coming to you. I just finished watching Jim Nye 888's video about Hulk Hogan being the wrong guy to induct the Macho Man Randy Savage into the 2015 WWE Hall of Fame at WrestleMania 31. I will tell you that there is a little bit of behind the scenes footage that you guys aren't going to know about. It was basically Jim and me texting back and forth today. I was asking about his status for WrestleMania 31. Somebody was asking who might be the mystery man to fill in on the Click's WrestleMania 31 tour. That person asked if Jim was going to be there, so I was just, hooking their answers up. And he told me about this video, basically, because Jim was saying he was excited about flying into Santa Clara, actually San Jose, for WrestleMania 31 to go to the Hall of Fame. But basically was telling me how much he was not looking forward to the Hall of Fame because he was making this video saying that Hulk Hogan was the wrong person to induct Macho Man Randy Savage into the Hall of Fame because he felt that his brother Lanny Poffo would be a much better guy to do it. And I think I've seen a lot of videos like this, but honestly when it comes down to it, Jim and other people out there, I think the Hall of Fame's been going for a long time. And I'm not saying that anybody doesn't remember the Hall of Fame or doesn't think about it, but when somebody's inducted to the Hall of Fame, there's two speeches. There's the induction speech, and there's the acceptance speech. If it was Dusty Rhodes or Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan, somebody would come out and give a great speech about how great this wrestler was, and maybe how much of a good friend they were, and this, that, or the other, and then that person would come out and induct that person. But with other people throughout the past, you think about Kurt Hennig, you think about Yokozuna, you think about last year with Paul Bear. Somebody comes out and gives a speech, and because that person is no longer with us and no longer living like the Macho Man is, somebody else comes out and does the acceptance speech. I think it's all well known and well documented from the announcement on the WWE Network that Hulk Hogan will be doing the induction speech, and that Lanny Poffo, his brother, will be giving the acceptance speech. I think that Hulk Hogan is the best name that is out there. You got to think of star power. You got to think of this might be the main event guy for WrestleMania. And when you think of Randy Savage, you think of Hulk Hogan. When you think of Hulk Hogan, you think of Randy Savage. These guys go together like peanut butter and jelly. They might not have the best relationship in the world. It is well documented in the world. But when it comes down to it, these guys were friends for a great long amount of time. They did ride the heights of WWF together with the Mega Powers. They did ride together for the Mega Powers Collide at WrestleMania 5, one of the biggest WrestleMania pay-per-views of all time. A 2-year-long storyline basically building up of Hulk Hogan going off to make No Holds Barred, dropping the championship on the main event to Ted DiBiase and Andre the Giant. From there, them going to the tournament at WrestleMania 4 with Macho Man Randy Savage winning, and then basically riding it out and then doing the whole who wants Liz the most. I will say that, Jim, during your video, you did say a lot of things about Hulk Hogan, even though he is one of my most favorite wrestlers. Hulk Hogan does have a lot of stories that are exposed to not be true, or to see that there is a double side of every story that Hogan sells. Most recently, we've heard Hogan trying to make excuses for what happened at WrestleMania 30, calling the Superdome the Silver Dome, and that was big time exposed. He was saying that Stephanie McMahon, basically had him running around doing interviews, talking about Andre the Giant for the WWE Network, and then when he went out there, he was confused because he saw Hulk Hogan Hulk Hogan saw The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin ducking off to the side, and it was a Vince McMahon swerve that he didn't know they were coming. The WrestleMania 30 episode number 1 of 24 basically exposed that those guys were talking it out before, during, and after. They knew that each other were going to be there. Stone Cold Steve Austin talks about when they called him up to do it, that basically he knew that, you know, that's what he was going there for and that's what he was going to do. Just had that big powwow inside of the ring, and I guess Hogan got exposed on that one. TNA really was a big-time money grab. I think that Hogan thought that he really could go in there and really could help out TNA at the end of the day. I think the TNA might have even went down a little bit, and it might be said that it was because of what you know, Hogan was getting paid at the time, and basically what the expectations of Hogan doing the radio ads wasn't really helping people. Because I remember when I went to the Sacramento house show for TNA, a lot of people were thinking that Hulk Hogan was going to be there, and he wasn't there, and some people probably left unhappy. But also, Jem, at the end of your video, you're talking about the things that Hulk Hogan's not going to be talking about. He's not going to be talking about, you know, if he did Liz, this, that, or the other. That's not really the place for the Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame is for telling the good time stories about how good these guys were friends and how they did get along and how Macho Man was one of the greatest ones out there. It's not for bringing up the dirt. That might be for a documentary somewhere down the road. But, you know, the rumor about Vince and Macho Man and Stephanie or Elizabeth and Hogan, that's not going to be something that's going to be brought up at the Hall of Fame. It's going to be talking about these guys slamming back beards, planning out the Mega Powers in WrestleMania 5, and, you know, basically Hogan talking about, you know, Macho Man stealing the spotlight by having one of the greatest matches of all time at WrestleMania 3, wrestling against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. That's what the WrestleMania WWE Hall of Fame is about. Good times, good stories. Not anyone trying to bring anybody down, bringing up the bad things of the past. You know, Warrior touched on it a little bit with his second speech to WrestleMania 30, but cleared it up by saying, you know, that they were a family, they were back together, and he was looking to, you know, move forward into the future and see what Ultimate Warrior could bring to help the WWE and the next, you know, class of wrestlers that were there. But I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm looking forward to seeing Hogan induct Macho Man. Honestly, when it comes down to it, there's only one person I can think of as a backup for Hulk Hogan, and that would be Diamond Dallas Page. When Diamond Dallas Page is on any kind of a podcast or an interview talking about Randy Savage, he talks to him from the heart, and he really says that if it wasn't for Macho Man Randy Savage in the Spring Stampede match, Diamond Dallas Page never would have won championships. Diamond Dallas Page never would have got a call from the WWF to go up there and work the invasion angle as you know, the Undertaker stalker, and you know, really puts it over. But you know, if DDP is going to talk about Savage, it's really going to be putting over DDP more than anybody else. So I do think that he might give one of the better speeches for the Macho Man Randy Savage. It's just not the right place and it's not the right time. Hogan putting him in there is the biggest star power, and Lanny Poffo accepting it and locking it down with a great speech about how great his brother was and how great the Poffo family is. It's great stuff for WrestleMania 31 in the Hall of Fame.